Welcome to my conscious culinary playground of thought cuisine and the secret life of food. This is my second stop. I've gone Australia via Berlin, and next I go to New Zealand on the Secret Life of Food tour. You might say, like we discussed or we listened to earlier, that I am a company without a company. I'm not an Airbnb though, perhaps I'm an Uber chef. So I travel the world pretty much as a solopreneur or a wellpreneur, teaching what I've learnt, what I know, and what I intuitively like to be able to share using the work that I've discovered in food as medicine and how that can benefit the hotels and healing environments of the world. So my first 15 years in food, of which there are now 30, was spent as an apprentice, as a restaurateur, and then as a hotelier in Melbourne in Australia. Our hotel was a pub-style hotel, if you know the difference, an old bluestone charming hotel built in 1854 called the Grace Darling Hotel. I was 24 years old when I became the publican there. My father had just died of cancer, and I wanted to change the world one deep fryer at a time. It was very challenging. My brother Chris Gowing and I managed to receive many, many accolades for our work over 8 years at the Grace Darling Hotel, including coveted chef's hats, which are aligned with Michelin stars, Hotel of the Year, and so forth. In the mid-90s, I had a wellness crisis, and I wasn't ill, but I had a duty of care that the fish and chips that I was carrying out to my Friday customers, plate after plate after plate, was doing them more harm than my pockets more good. In 1998, my brother and I decided to sell our hotel. We realised the asset, and I travelled for a short amount of time. And then I retrained in natural medicine. I started off as a fitness leader, which qualified me to work in a gym, which didn't really suit me. And then I got very, very passionately interested in nutrition. And back then, 15 years ago, people could not bridge the gap between why was a restaurateur studying nutrition. It was an absolute gobsmacking anomaly for the food press in Melbourne and the rest of Australia. They just couldn't understand why I would sacrifice my career in the pursuit of finding a cure for cancer using food as medicine. So I did what I've done quite often, is I ignored the food critics and I just soldiered on. And I retrained in natural medicine. I studied nutrition, yoga and Pilates. And I created this business, Gowings Food Health Wealth, 15 years ago. And I just soldiered on. I set up an organic cooking school. My first classes were called Don't Panic, It's Organic. And Melbourne and Sydney were terrified with the prospect of organic food. The apples had blemishes, they cried. The tomatoes didn't look bright red and they weren't the same size. And I furiously fought on through critic after critic and created a small, slow, dedicated path of followers who to this day continue to hold my original business cards in their hands, and they've followed me passively. I don't even know that they exist some of the time. So passion has brought me here today, and I wanted to share that journey with you and how having a spark of passion and an intuitive feeling brings you to where you're meant to be at the right place at the right time. Having said that, I feel collectively in this room and obviously around the world that we have a duty of care. What we serve our clientele is of the utmost healing importance. We cannot just continue to serve them room service, those club sandwiches in healing hotels, nor can we offset or on-sell a Caesar salad just because we think it might be healthy. By no way am I discrediting these wonderful dishes. I certainly love both. It's not about healing, though. If you really want to create the gourmet cuisine for your hotel, your health retreat, your spa, your home, it's about looking at every individual ingredient and how those ingredients can uplift you, your family, and your clientele. It's not to say that everything has to be beetroot, for example, which helps to cleanse the blood and detox the liver. It doesn't have to be fresh turmeric. It could be ground turmeric. They're two different components and have two completely different effects on the body. It's how we combine the food synergy and how we marry those ingredients on the plate. But most importantly, it is our guest experience. What is the guest experience when they receive beautiful food? And it doesn't have to be my style of cooking. It can be anywhere in the world. It is the guest experience that is paramount to our businesses. and how that food resonates with their own cellular healing. They might like to have a hamburger. That's fine. I've probably had more bread in Germany than I've had in the last 5 years. Thank you very much. It's fabulous. It's not what I always do, but I'm here and I'm enjoying it and it's making me really happy. I write and talk a lot about food and happiness, and that food is not necessarily the pathway to happiness, but happiness is a multifaceted state, and how we choose to eat, sleep, dine and travel all creates and underpins our pursuit of optimal wellness and our pursuit of happiness. So I use my ingredients, my secret toolkits, to write hotel menus, luxury spa menus. I'm a very kind of new age entrepreneur in a way, but there is so much traditional mindset in the kitchens of great hotels around the world. And the biggest challenge that I find in going into work in those kitchen brigades, even as a blow-in, as we say in Australia, a drive-by or someone that just pops in maybe for a week at a time, is dealing with the mindset. And delivering healthy food is about changing people's mindset. Yesterday, somebody mentioned that they still feel obligated to serve a conventional menu and offer a healing menu. I say there's no reason for that. If your food is so good, you don't need to have a traditional menu anymore. Just create what is true to your environment. Whether you're in Iceland, whether you're in Japan, what are the healing components of the earth or the sea or the mountains around you? The signature cuisine I created for another health retreat in Australia, where I ended up staying on as the executive chef for 2.5 years. I was meant to be there for about 3 weeks. Was based on the ocean. So my experience in Japanese food, of course, resonated very strongly with sea vegetables, beautifully hand-caught local fish, line-caught fish, and our local prawns, all appeared very prominently on the menu. So every menu that I create, it's about capturing that essence. What is the essence of Berlin, for example? It's not just Wiener Schnitzel, of course, for me. There are so many other components. So I'd like to encourage you to be really mindful about what is your property serving? What are you dishing up? Does it resonate with your ethos? Have you actually written a mindset for your menu? Is your food philosophy matching the hotel philosophy? And without discrediting any environment, that's often not the case that I see. Often the food is a second thought. The healing is often the first thought. The spa is usually where the money goes, particularly if you're converting a property, if you're transforming it from a traditional environment into a wellness destination, then I'll still see semblance of deep fryers everywhere. They might not be used. There might be sandwich presses and salamanders and all sorts of things, which of course still hold merit. But my question to you is, what more can you do to change your menu, to change your clientele's mindset? It is such an important component of the healing process, because the healing happens when there is no mind. And so if you can serve beautiful food where your guests don't think about it, they feel it. As we learned earlier, we know more than we can say. And the same goes so much more for food. We go to great restaurants. I hope to continue to dine in the next 48 hours that I'm here. And I quite enjoy people's company, obviously, but when I travel alone, I actually enjoy sitting in great restaurants on my own, whether it's a bread basket or a glass of rosé or a beautiful piece of fish. That's where the healing happens for me, as much as it does on the yoga mat, on the mountain, in the gym, and travelling. You know, the food is about your cellular resonance of what's come in front of you. So many cultures don't share food. They often eat on their own, particularly in Bali, where I spent a lot of time, in Indonesia. They prefer often just to sit in the corner and enjoy their food and go back to work. You know, so much is placed on this word foodie in Australia and perhaps in the States. It's a word I really dislike. Having not been to Europe for about 30 years, to come and return to a culture where food is so celebrated is what I hope can translate across the healing arts and return to the wellness industry. For me, it is such a powerful force. I haven't yet found the cure for cancer, but I am working at it one bite at a time. There are selective ingredients that I do use, particularly, turmeric is one of them, particularly fresh. I look to my experience in Japanese cuisine, which I've had a vast experience and language as well. And I also practice with Chinese medicine, We talk a lot about raw food at the moment. It's very, very fashionable. However, as I said to somebody earlier this morning, would you really want to have a diet of raw food for 36 hours while you're here in Berlin? For me, it's very cold. I grew up in Melbourne. It's a little bit colder. Nothing will shut down your digestion faster than a plate of raw food day after day. So again, be really mindful. How do we cash in on these food trends? And do they actually sit with our own philosophies for our healing hotels? What is our intention around some of these trends? In Australia, paleo is very fashionable. I've been teaching paleo masterclasses for 4 years now, and I'm hanging up my apron on that. It's, paleo is kind of for Australians, meat and 3 veg, maybe without the potatoes. And most chefs should be able to cook paleo. It's really about beautiful meat and fish, chicken, so forth, and vegetarian options as well. And with our vegetarian food, it must be colourful. There are so many places I go to where vegetarian food is still brown. And it doesn't have to be brown. Food is a celebration of life, and it's a mirror of our society, and it's a total, absolute unity in the way we can forge forward into this new paradigm and the way we perceive wellness and how we can enrich the guest experience for the next millennium. Thank you very much.